So here's a run through of the custom login routine. I'm using Wakanda 5, but I believe everything that I'm going to say in here also applies to Wakanda 6. So I'm going to clone an example solution from GitHub that I have up. So it's github.com/micwakanda /C custom login. And I think you just do it like that. Just put it on my desktop. We'll clone it, and I'm just going to show you. So yes, we'll start the server. So when you're looking at a custom login, there's a few things, a few moving parts. System admin. Okay, so the server started. The first thing that will happen when the server starts is it's going to find a bootstrap file. So you can do this either with a bootstraps folder, and everything inside of that folder is a bootstrap file, which means it'll get addressed during the server boot up, or you can do a file of your own and right click on it and go set as active bootstrap. So I've done a folder here. In the bootstrap file is a line of JavaScript that tells Wakanda server where the login routine is. So basically we're going to use a function called user login, and we're going to promote the permissions to the admin group level. You don't have to promote, but I have. So if someone logs in and they don't have the proper permissions to do some of the activities that you need during the login, you can promote it for just that function call. The next file that you need to know about is this required.js at the solution level. So it's solution and then specifically called required.js. And this file will be evaluated automatically when the server starts up. And you can see this is where I have defined my login routine. And it automatically gets two parameters, username and password. And all I've done here is just, you can create whatever logic you like to validate a user. If you return false, what it will do is it will go to the built-in directory and try and authenticate the user against the built-in directory. So I do have one user in the directory, which is kind of required to, well, it is required to secure your system. So you can see here I have one user called system admin, and they belong to the admin group. So back in this, if the username is system admin, I'm just going to have it go to the directory and authenticate that way. Otherwise, I'm going to do a bunch of JavaScript and figure out, do they qualify? Does the logic pass for a successful login? So I've done some various things here, but the long and short of it is, at the end of the day, if it's a successful login, what you want to do is you want to return an object, a JavaScript object with actually there's another element you can return here called storage, which is an object. So it would be, you could add elements to this object as well if you wanted, and this would be session storage for that user. So you return an object with an ID, a name, a full name, an array of groups that they belong to, just an array of strings, and then a storage object. And when you return this object, you get a successful login and the session is created. In this, what I've done as well is we have used our own model to house the usernames and passwords of people. So you can see here I have a user datastore class. Now I've done this in the unguided model, but everything works the same. As I've got a username, a password, which actually is just a calculated attribute, as you can see. We've got an HA1 key. So the password is actually never stored in the data store, just the HA1 key. So if something were to happen, some sort of compromise, you don't lose all of your passwords. So these are hashed passwords. I use the ID, which is a UUID, and the password that they send in to create the hash. And I'll show you the code for that. If we go into our model folder, into user methods, you can see that I have an entity method called validate password. So in my custom login routine, you can see that I do call that. Where do I call it? Right up here. So I pass in the password to validate password. So it's found a user, now validate the password, and this is actually the method that it uses. So it takes the hash is equal to the password that I passed in from the login and creates the hash value, and then if the hash is equal to the HA1 key value from the data store, it's the same as a matched password. Likewise, if I go to, I believe it's in here, in user password, when someone saves their password, so the onset event, and if you are doing a guided model, you would just go here to the data store class and under events, and this is where you can get the events in the guided model. And you would just put this same code, where was I? Right here. You'd put the same code in that event. All it's doing is creating a hash based on the password that was passed in. So on set, it's creating, it's saving into the HA1 key attribute of the data store class. The compute HA1 function takes in the ID from this element or from this entity and the password. So I think that's pretty much covers it from start to finish. The other thing you want to do is go into settings here and do change your solution to custom. And once you change it to custom, then all of this should work fine. So let's just run this project, and maybe what we'll do is we'll actually put a debugger in here, and you'll see when this method actually fires. So let's go to run project. I get a browser window with my project, and so I can go, what did I have in here? Okay, so let's do a user that's not there. Log in. You can see the debugger comes up, and it's going to validate it, and you'll see that as I go through, it's finding that there was not a user with the username Bill, but this is creating a new default user, so it's going through some startup logic, but let's go continue. So Bill will now be the default admin user. Let me go back. You'll have to read through the code of that. So let's log out. Let's do Charlie. So you can see that it's fired the, I should get that browser easily available. Hold on. So you can see Charlie did not sign in properly, but if I go back to Bill, it will run through that code. I'll just continue, and it successfully logs in. The other thing to notice would be this, is if we went rest, I think it's directory, you can log in through rest. Actually, you need to do a post request. So what I'll do here is I will go to Postman. If you've never used this, it's a great little thing. How do we create a new one here? Yeah, I'll just overwrite this one. So what I'm doing here is mimicking a post request, or actually I am sending a post request. So that URL /rest $directory / login, and then in the body so post in the body we just pass in an array with Bill and hello, send, see that the debugger fires because it's the same thing. It's a login, so any login for the server is going to go through this routine. We'll continue, and you can see result was true. So we got a login. So one more demonstration is in JavaScript code, you could go, I don't know what that means. We could go, so let's log out. I've got a bug there, but if we go waf.directory, so you could do this anywhere in your code, .login by password, Bill, hello. That's also going to fire the debugger, and that should work successfully. True. So if we do waf directory.current user, you'll see that we get the user object with Bill and the ID. So that's the custom login routine explained. I hope it helps.